I like to organize races when you have a professional touch on professional, of course, but still keep it very personal.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun Podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 16 of the Low Tide Boyz podcast. Probably the most excited I've been for a show in a while because we have with us today the co-founder of Ötillö, Mats. Mats himself is on the show. Now, it's a cool interview, so definitely stick around for that. But if you would have asked us in January 1, it's like, hey, so you're gonna do this show? You know, do you really think you're gonna get any guests? It's like, yeah, at some point we're definitely going to get the co-founders of like the people that pioneered the sport.
I probably would have put that about a 15% odds of happening. And this was a long time coming. We were trying to get this done in Catalina, but obviously Mats and Michael, being the race directors, their time was used up.
I mean, and shout out to their crew, because they actually gave us a slot. They're like, yeah, you just have to be in Two Harbors on Saturday, and you know, you have half an hour.
Yeah. It was probably going to be
really
like
nice
during the race or something. But yeah, I mean, a great interview, and we kind of heard, and we've heard the story about how Ötillö or how Swimrun came to be, and how Michael and Mats kind of came up with this.
You might have to start bleeping some of this, by the way.
Oh, spoiler alert?
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay, all right.
But I wanted to dig in, and we were able to dig into what were they doing before that. And Michael and Mats were a venture racing crew, and that's not something that's hugely popular here in the United States. So I'm like, my mind was blown when he was telling us some of this crazy stuff that he was doing, and now I'm interested in that.
But yeah, no, it was anyway. That's enough foreshadowing for the interview.
Enough foreshadowing.
But it was pretty good. So we hope people enjoy it. We enjoyed it, and yeah, it was fun. But first, training update.
You want to go? You've been hammering the bike as much as we shit on bike riding. We've been doing a lot of it, you and I.
I've been training a lot. So I've been at home. My wife is home. Her kids, got 2 young kids, one that's almost 4, one that's 8 months. So we have a lot of things we need to do during the day when we're trying to, quote, work.
Yeah.
So I've just been trying to do stuff early. And the bike, the trainer, works out really well. I'm
20
all
feet
about,
from your living room.
I'm all about trophies and having things be gamified. So that's a huge motivator for me, like things that I can level up in. So yeah, I've been hitting the bike. So when I really started kicking it off was 3 weeks ago, and I rode like 80 miles that week, and I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Last week I rode about 100.
Wow.
Or 2 weeks ago I rode about 100, and then last week I rode 130.
Jeez, you're like really scaling up. Now, are these rides just going by super quick for you because you're kind of in the Zwift world?
Well, I'm actually taking the time to catch up on like TV shows I've always wanted to watch and things like that. So yeah, so it's just been a ton of cycling and running. So I've just basically, instead of swim running, I've just been like bike running.
Duathloning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been doing a little bit of running. I've been trying this thing. I've really actually struggled a lot with motivation, and you know, kind of a lot that we're kind of hearing from other people who are saying it's just hard to get out the door. And
yeah, I was fine the first couple of weeks, but now the shit is real.
Yeah, and so I mean, I've honestly been struggling a little with it, and you know, if I can ride the bike for 20-30 minutes, that's a win for me. So I've been trying to get out in the past 4 or 5 days. If you're following us on Strava, there's also the Low Tide Boyz Strava group. But I've been out the past 4 or 5 days, have done at least like 20 minutes of activity, if that's a Peloton ride or a 2 or 3 mile little jog around my neighborhood. The weather's getting super nice too.
20 minutes a day. That's basically the mantra of one of my really good buddies, this guy who yachts.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, he's fit as fuck. And 20 minutes a day, just make sure he gets that.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll do longer stuff for sure, but
yeah. So that's been good, and I've been taking the bike out with Charlie. Got a cargo bike, a super dad bike that put the kids on and ride around, so that's been fun. It's an e-bike, so not totally blowing the legs up. And something else I've been done, I have got these Chris is looking at them right now, sandbag workout things. So I got some sand and put it in these bags, and I've been doing I did a 10-minute little body weight strength thing, and it's like, okay, lunges, and I'll put on this sandbag that probably has, I guess I should probably weigh it, right? Let's say it has 25 pounds in it, and I'll put it on my shoulders and do a lunge, and then it had like an overhead press. So I did 10 of those, and then, did that a couple times. I mean, I'm going to be fucking ruined tomorrow. Like, it's not hard.
Start somewhere. Yeah, strength.
I got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
but
strength isn't something that, you were just mostly a straight endurance guy. I feel like I was definitely more into strength back in the day. And, yeah, I'm stoked you're getting into it because that's how you make your body kind of bomb-proof.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
I'm sure if we put Kavika, we just called Kavika from
he'd put us to shame,
Envol Baywatch on the phone right now. He'd be like, yeah, dude, do strength.
He's I've been watching his Instagram stories. He's doing some. He's a CrossFit coach, but he's been doing some CrossFit stuff in his little backyard that he's doing with his dog and everything. So that's been been fun to watch. But I've been loving these sandbags. And we also want to take a moment just to thank everybody for the feedback that you gave us on our Instagram stories. We were asking you what kind of episodes that you were looking forward to. And the general consensus is you pretty much want to hear anything that we were thinking about, with the exception of you're kind of over the quarantine workouts, which is fine. I think we're over those too at this point.
Yeah.
But we'll try to mix up the different shows here as we continue on.
Yeah, so before we get to the show, I wanted to do sort of an extended shout out. I guess we did a little mini shout out to Kavika. What's up, dude? Hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. But wanted to shout out someone who hooked us up right at the beginning of the show. So there's this record label called Writing Easy Records. They're out of Hermosa Beach. And Daniel and the crew down there were nice enough to let us use one of their record songs for our show music. So
the intro song and the outro song that you hear is off Writing Easy Records. Chris turned me on to this. It's called the Brown Acid series, and it's this
it's like old school stoner and synth rock from like the 70s.
It sounds super familiar. Like you hear this, you're like, this could be Ozzy, or it could be Dio, or it could be any of those style 70s, 80s kind of metal-ish rock bands. And the songs sound very catchy and familiar, but you never heard of any of the artists before. So it's all this kind of underground. So they have the Brown Acid series, which they call them like the first trip, the second trip. Now they're up to the 10th trip.
That's right.
And the 10th trip just dropped on 4/20. And you'll
probably see the connection if you go to the website.
Yeah, you'll put all the puzzle pieces together on this, but Writing Easy Recs, RECS.com is their website there. But I've really been digging the music. Big shout out to the crew at Writing Easy Records. The more we kind of follow them on Instagram and see what they're doing, we're like, oh yeah, these guys are cool, and we really like what they're doing. Like we try to mention every week, we're still doing the Swimrun collab with the Wild Swimrun is on our website. So just go to our website. We have a big banner there. We have shirts, sweatshirts, men's, women's, even a throw pillow. So get that, and that will be a cool way to help us support Wild Youth Initiative.
So Chipper, now on to this week's show. As we mentioned at the beginning, we have Mats.
Kind of scolded me.
We have Mats from Ötillö. And it's a great conversation, and I am so stoked about this interview, and I hope that you'll enjoy it.
You will enjoy it, I know. I guarantee it.
Doggone guarantee it.
Rock your socks right off your feet.
With us today, we have Mats Skott. He was born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. Growing up, he participated in cross-country skiing and orienteering on a national level. In 1995, he started racing venture races around the world, with his best result being a second place at the World Championship in 2004. In 2006, Michael Lamel and Mats started Ötillö. Neither of them were swimmers, but when they heard about the idea and how to move in nature, they loved it and organized the first swimrun race in the world and named it Ötillö, which means island to island in Sweden. Mats, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So first question, how are you doing? How's everybody in your circle? Everybody healthy and safe where you are?
Yes, we're all healthy, and I'm living in the middle of Sweden, but it's more like in the north, in the mountains, so it's a ski resort, and I just recovered from an infection. I think it was corona. They don't do tests here in Sweden, but I've started training now after 3 weeks, and it feels okay. A bit sore in the lungs, but it's all fine.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's good to hear that you're doing better.
Yeah. But now we have a snowstorm outside here, and we're supposed to go to VAR, being in VAR this weekend, but
right,
this coming weekend, but in Croatia for the second race of this year. But now I'm at home at the office and preparing for the coming races, hopefully later this year.
Yeah, everyone's excited and building up for those for sure. Before we dive into all things Ötillö and Swimrun, we're super curious about your history with adventure racing. This is something that in the States isn't super common. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you got into that and the types of races, and how maybe you and Mikkel ended up meeting up and forming your team or partnership.
Like you said in the introduction, I grew up with orienteering and cross-country skiing, and I still love those sports. They are like my base in my athletic body. Not maybe athletic anymore, but still that's what built my heart and lungs and muscles. And then I stopped because I didn't reach the top in the world, and then I didn't see the point in training that much, just being on a national level. So I moved to France and started climbing and downhill skiing instead of piste and snowboarding. But that was like in the 90s. And when I was 25, I met Michael in Chamonix, and we started racing in ski touring in Europe and in Sweden. And 95, we came across the sport of adventure racing and did our first race and put together a team of 5 people. And it's always mixed, so you have to be women and men in the team. And the races are super long. It's between the race I raced for 13 years, but the races are between 300 to 1,000 kilometers long. And
Whoa.
You race non-stop from 4 to 9 days. And the first race we did in 95 was in Patagonia in Argentina, in Bariloche in the Andes. And it was a fantastic experience, how to struggle with sleep deprivation, lack of energy in your body, and then keeping a team together, moving all 5 people at the same time, just helping each other. And
I really want to do one of these races.
This sounds so incredible. I mean, when you say you're racing as a team, I mean, could you break it down? I'm so fascinated by this. This is so unlike anything that any American has even heard of. I feel. So you're kind of a pack, and is it mostly skiing or rock climbing or?
No, it's I did it from 95. I did my first race, and then I did my last race in Brazil, 2008. And the organizers, they go and do in Argentina, for example, the first race. There was a French organization, and it was kayaking, trekking, horseback riding. We climbed the mountain. We're on glaciers, and
wow,
it was rope skills and mountain biking, and then you get like a map 2 days. You know the disciplines when you go there, and you know roughly how far it will be, but you get the course just 2 days before the start, and then you get all your maps, and then you know the distances. And
so then you would want to be really strong in orienteering so that you could read the maps and navigate through nature, I guess.
Yeah. And then you have like several checkpoints throughout the course, and then you have assistant points where you change your discipline, and there you can change your gear as well. But you're all self-sufficient on between those assistant points.
So you kind of have like almost a aid or an energy station, but then you could pick up your kayak or your canoe or whatever, and then take that to your next leg, I guess you would call it. Okay.
Yeah, and then you fill your food with for the next section, and you decide when to sleep, and that's all up to you. And we managed, if we raced for 5 to 6 days, we usually slept for an average of 2 hours per night or something like that.
Wow.
That's
and
amazing.
then you're moving. So there was lots of sleep deprivation.
Did you bring your own horse, or they have that for you?
No, they have that.
Okay.
Usually they have the kayaks and the horses.
Okay.
But that's also a challenge to come to a big paddock with 150 horses, and then you have to choose your horse to spend 2 days with. That's not easy.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
I'm literally almost in disbelief. It sounds such like a really cool adventure, and I see or hearing you talk about this, I really see how it translated into kind of the way that Ötillö does Swimrun, about how just moving through nature, and you and Michael talk about it a lot, about, you're only leaving kind of the footprints behind. That's it sounds like very, very similar mentality to what you had in this adventure racing background.
Yeah, totally. And the most challenging thing was it's very basic, because you're a team of 5, and then in the end we were only 4. But I mean, to keep the team together and keep the momentum up and helping each other, and problem is something you have to solve, and always looking forward, and you become kind of a naked person, because naked in the sense that you cannot think how you look like, or I mean, in the normal social how we meet people in the city or in the normal life, we think how we look, we think how we behave, we think how everything to how we are received by other people. But when you're racing in a team of 4 and becoming so tired of all the things, and the only thing to think about is how to reach the finish line in the best way, then you have to take off all those shells that you have in a normal life, and you become the only thing is how to move forward, next time to drink, next time to eat, next time to sleep, and how are your teammates doing.
Yeah, you're stripped down to the human in its most raw form, I guess it sounds like. So that yes. Sounds what a shaping experience that you had for many, many years. Yeah, and it taught me quite a lot in daily life. Of course, I do lots of mistakes still, though, but I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, I can imagine that just puts a lot of things in perspective. When you're waiting in line for your coffee, it doesn't seem as bad as riding a horse for 2 days in the woods. So I think that's a great transition to what's happening with Ötillö. So we've heard the origin story of the original race from a variety of folks, including Jonas Kolting. But we'd love to get kind of your view on how you and Michael were approached by the original 4 and how it all started.
It was Michael who heard about it, and then he heard it from a friend of them, of the 4 guys, and he told Michael about the crazy thing they had done. And then Michael phoned me, and then he told me about this story, how they had moved from Ötillö to Sandhamn, and swimming between the islands and running on the islands, and it took them 2 days to do the whole course. That takes them 8 hours now. But I just love the way how to move in nature, and it feels like you're one with nature when you reach the water, and then you swim, and then you reach land, you start walking or running. And to me, it was just a fantastic experience. And neither Michael and I are swimmers or anything from the beginning. So we didn't know anything about swimming in open water or even swimming in a pool. Of course, we could swim, but we didn't have any sport background in swimming. But we just loved the way of moving in nature and doing in pairs as well, helping each other.
Do you think that your experience in adventure racing, really informed kind of how you were going to set up this event in its early years?
Yes, totally. It was, and we had race briefings, and the first year we forced all the participants to have a life jacket on because, as I said before, we were not swimmers, so we didn't know. We thought it was super dangerous to swim. So they had to, guys like Jonas Kolping that you have interviewed, who is a super athlete, he had to wear a life jacket when during the race for the first year.
Yeah, he told us some pretty great war stories, I guess, about the first couple of races, how the team that ended up winning had a blow-up mattress like you would take camping or something, and he just thought that was so funny that they had all their gear loaded on there.
Yeah, and I remember the first year that no one had a clue what to expect, except for those Finnish guys that had a inflatable mattress. I remember Jonas and his teammate, they were sitting, coming to the swims. They took off their shoes, took off the socks, put them in a waterproof bag, and then start swimming. And then they came to the end of the swim. They came up, they dried their feet, put on the socks.
More like a triathlon transition, kind of, where you want to you be careful about blisters and everything. But man, with 40-something transitions like how you have in the World Championship race, that would you would be spending almost 2 hours transitioning
at least
between all the That's a great story.
I just said this will not work if they move like this.
It sounded like it was pretty gear heavy for the first couple World Championship races.
Yeah.
And I guess getting the feedback from a lot of the racers, did that help change the sport or change how you regulated the sport in terms of gear and allowing it to be more stripped down without the life preserver and the floating mattress and stuff and being more kind of a raw person? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And after the first year, we said that we cannot allow those mattresses. It would never become a sport if we have inflatable mattresses. We wanted to have the people swimming.
What a good merchandise opportunity to have a big Ötillö branded sleep mattress.
Yeah.
Sell it for $50 or something.
Yeah. My dream in the future would be to organize a swim run in a warm climate with soft trails, and so you only have a pair of swim trunks and goggles. And that would be the only gear you would allow. That would be very nice to have a race like that.
That kind of sounds like the hero swim run that happened in Bahia, which I think was a merit race. Looking at some of those pictures in Brazil, there was people
they just have their trunks
shorts.
on.
Yeah, it's up in Barra Grande. I've been there several times, and it's a very nice climate there to do a swim run with all sand roads and everything.
So the sport of swim run, and before when it was just referred to as Ötillö, island to island, it's definitely evolved over the last 10 so years. How I assume how are you feeling, and are you happy about the direction that it's taken? And you've preserved, at least from the outside, from our point of view, you've really preserved the sort of integrity and the spirit behind it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how the sport's evolved.
No, I'm super happy with how it evolved. And when we started, we never thought that it would be this grow in this way. But I'm very happy that so many find the way of moving in nature like this. And then it was after a couple of years, there was the Swedish girl who came up with the name Swimrun. And we said, that's a great name for the sport, and let's just have it free. And she didn't want to protect it, and neither did we, because we wanted to have a swimrun as a sport, like cross-country skiing or alpine skiing. That would be the name of the sport. And then we would only have our brand, Ötillö, that would be the one that started it, so the swimrun could grow freely in the world. And now it's really growing all over the world. And like you said, this swim run in Bahia where people are running very with very little equipment, and it's really nice to see all the different shapes that swimrun come out now, and I love it. I love the development to set something free, and then you have your own brand which you want to organize the best races that are, but the sport should be free and develop in its own way.
Oh, definitely. Was there a point where you were like, "Oh my God, this is a thing now. Like, swimrun is now an official worldwide sport." Was there like a specific moment where maybe you and Michael were sitting down having a beer or something, and you're like, "Oh my God, like this is real"?
No, I've been living with it so long, but I am, of course, I'm super proud that to be able to start a sport, and it's not the gear focused sport. I mean, it's not we didn't invent a sport that had to have a gear. It's a sport that was invented in a way to move in nature, which I think is I'm very proud of it, to be the first organizer of the swimrun races.
Yeah, and how many people can say that they've essentially started a new sport?
Not many.
Yeah. No.
Not many. Awesome. Well, so that transitions us nicely into the first race that we had in Catalina now a couple months ago, 6-8 weeks ago ish. That was a huge success from our perspective. We had a blast. It was such an awesome experience for us on multiple levels, and to experience a real Ötillö branded race did not disappoint. So I'm curious on your take on how are you feeling everything went at Ötillö Catalina?
Oh, we loved it. It was really nice to be there. And the first time I came there was 1 year ago. And then we had a totally different idea of the course. But when we came there and we just saw how it looked like and how to organize and logistic-wise, and it was just it was so nice to come from Los Angeles and then come out to this wilderness and then realize we have to be only in 2 harbors, and then we designed the course around there instead of trying to cross the whole island, which would have been a logistic nightmare, I think. But now it turned out to be a very, very nice race. Tough with the weather conditions for the Sunday race, but good condition for the shorter versions on Saturday. But I really like to put on a race when you are in a small little village like Two Harbor. I don't even know if you could call it village, but a few houses and people live there.
Yeah, like a glorified campsite or something, a little bit, right?
Yeah, but it makes it, even if it's a lot of people coming racing, it still feels like it's a small, very intimate race, but very challenging. And I like to organize races when you have a professional touch, professional, of course, but still keep it very personal.
Yeah, I mean, again, both of us were blown away with how everything went, and from a course perspective and support of all the volunteers and the energy stations and everything. I mean, it was just an amazing experience. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was parts where Chris and I were cursing you and Michael for designing it a certain way, but but you know, we had a blast, and it was an adventure. So we really were so happy with how it turned out.
Good to hear. But of course, I as I told you before in the interview, I grew up with orienteering, and I've been racing the whole of my life, and I love looking at the map and trying to design a course, and really putting the racer in focus, so they will get sometimes you will swear at me, but in total I hope you will enjoy it. And I really like to try and not use the nature, but take advantage of the challenges the nature gives you to put on a nice course.
Right.
And I prefer to have a little bit more practical logistic and put on a nice course for the races than just making it easy for us in the organization.
Yeah, well, yeah, it seems like you almost made it a little tougher on yourself, but yeah, so it sounds like you almost can look at a map with all the experience that you have in orienteering, and almost to kind of, you're able to visualize what the course will look like, or do kind of courses sort of almost, appear at you out of your head sort of onto the map? Is that how you start your process of planning these courses on a brand new land such as the island of Catalina?
Yes, and I really need a proper map, not anything on Google Earth or Google Maps or anything on the computer.
A real map.
Like a physical map.
I need a map to look at, and topographical map, proper map.
Yeah.
And you can read the nature and do a nice course.
So do you expect making any changes to the course for 2021?
We have been looking at some improvements, and we're trying to update it and publish it very soon.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
well,
exciting. Well,
we'll keep
keep an eye
no
out for
big
that.
change, because I think we have a nice location at two harbors, and it's and the nature we cannot change, but I think we can do some improvements of the course to make it even better for the people racing.
Yeah, I think just more feedback from Chris and I. We came from the triathlon background, where we had done, everything from your sprint race to your Ironman race. And I think one thing about everybody being in that kind of, I guess, base camp or headquarters, whatever you want to call it, in Two Harbors, was part of the beauty of it. About it just kind of was a forcing function of the community. And when you were done racing, you just didn't get to go to your car and drive off.
Yeah, you had to wait for the boat.
Yeah, you had to wait for the boat to come back, but it got a chance to bond with the other swim runners and hear other stories and experience the award presentation and really feel a lot of really good feelings for everyone that had suffered the same way that you did. And I just thought that was such a great part of the sport that sort of really re-emphasized my love for it. But anyway, I'm done, brown nosing.
Yeah. So Mats, so Chipper loves it.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed it so much, and I really enjoyed that race as well. And I'm so happy that we managed to organize the race before this mayhem occurred in the world.
Yeah. So speaking of the mayhem, let's fast forward to, obviously the world is experiencing a pandemic. There are many countries that have quarantine orders for their residents. Training facilities are closed. Race companies around the world have been forced to cancel or postpone events. Ötillö was not spared in any of that. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of what the thought process was for you and Michael and the rest of the Ötillö team during this time? I'm assuming you're having a bunch of meetings, talking through possible scenarios. What was that like for you guys?
Now, in the beginning, it was just very, very difficult, because it's you thought one thing one day, and then the next day the situation was totally different. Now it's becoming more and more stable, and more and more stable. I don't know how stable a pause can be in the world, but now it's more settled in a way that this is how it is. And but it's really difficult to postpone races and cancel races and making people disappointed. And but I mean, we can't really do much if we can't organize a race. We can't organize a race. But
right.
It really puts a lot of stress on us to try and make good decisions so that we survive and can keep on doing races for the future as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I mean, we just want to take a second to just acknowledge about how obviously of a difficult situation that was for you and the team to kind of go through. And I mean, no one wants to cancel or postpone or delay a race. That's probably one of the hardest decisions that the team had to make. And we just want to say, like, we see that, and Ötillö put the press release out for the new races and the changes to the schedule. We won't dive into all that here. You could check that out on the website, or we'll also link that in the show notes. What a hopefully once in a lifetime decision that you have to make, but just extremely, extremely difficult to make for race directors all around the world, for sure. But obviously for you.
Yeah, and I think for this autumn and the late summer, autumn, it'll be quite a full schedule for the event business if we can start running the events again. So I hopefully we have athletes enough for all races, so all the events survive for the future.
Yeah, and we'll list the updated race schedule that was in the press release that you guys put out in our show notes. But some of the obvious changes to the race schedule was that the Isle of Scilly and Thousand Lakes were canceled. Do you expect these events to return to the series next year, hopefully? And hopefully you're not getting too many angry emails from the folks who wanted to race those events.
We really hope to put those races on again, because we try to choose locations very carefully, and not carefully, but we want to choose locations that are beautiful and a nice experience for the races, like I talked about before. And we really hope to put on the both on Isle of Scilly, which is a fantastic location with the clear blue water and these magical islands in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and then the race in Rheinsberg in Berlin, just 1 hour drive from Berlin, and then you have those really nice lakes, which are completely different from Isle of Scilly, but they're both magical nature, and we really would like to put on those races for the future again.
And we hope to be racing them at some point. so we're all in this together. So now the World Championship is still slated for this year. Is there any plan? And we haven't seen any real official sort of press release or anything come out yet, but given there's a little bit fewer events to happen and chances to accumulate points, will there be any sort of adjustment on that front, or is that still a kind of a work in progress for you and the team?
What we have decided now for the World Championship is that we postponed the Engadin race 3 weeks later, so we have like 24 spots there for the World Championship, as we have canceled the bar.
Gotcha.
All
right, so if people want to qualify, try to go to that race.
Yes.
So I think with that, is there anything else that you want the Swimrun audience in the United States and the rest of the world, assuming people listen to this show, to know about Ötillö and the upcoming races?
Oh, I hope that you all can come out and train first. So you're allowed to go outside of your house to start swimming and running.
Yeah.
And so you can prepare for racing. But I think for me, swimrun is so much about moving in nature, and it's not always have to be racing, I think. But so go out, take out your kids and explore nature, and explore your neighborhoods when you can, and find a lake and go out and discover the beauty of the nature, and then go swim running, and then when you're ready for it, come and race in our races, and we will put on a nice race for everyone that come to our races.
We can attest to that.
Yeah,
it is a nice race,
and we're definitely doing our part. I think for whenever Ötillö Catalina registration opens, we're already convincing a bunch of people to come with us this year, or in 2021. So
yeah,
and also remember that Swimrun is about moving in nature, and then all the races as well. Or we will never put up mats on the entries or exits, or have like 20 buoys to find your way. I mean, it's all about trying to work together as a team and moving in nature with nature, and adapting to what the conditions are.
Yeah, it's just so pure way to get from point A to point B, I suppose.
Yes.
We have one more question, then we'll let you go. We really appreciate your time, but we are curious if there's any teaser that you can give out or anything about, are you looking at any other U.S. locations for any more Ötillö branded races?
As the world looks like now, right now, I don't have any teasers except for keep healthy, and we try to be able to organize races soon again. And then from that, I hope we can manage to look into the future if we talk again within a year or something like that.
Great. Yeah, I guess, not too much planning going on, more damage control, I suppose, at this point. But and reconciliation as well, and trying to improve all our races, improving all the small things that you never have time to do in the season. Now we're trying to improve every little detail in each race now, instead of trying to put on new locations and new races, and trying to do the races that we have even better.
Well, I have to say, as you know, I work professionally with a bunch of race directors across the United States, and I just really appreciate that attention to detail. I mean, I think I talked about it on pretty much every podcast that we're talking about Catalina, on how, for a first year race to come off as well as it did, that's not easy. And it just takes a lot of dedication and
effort,
but also just like your mindset has to be that you just want to try to put on the best race you possibly can, and have it be less about just, making profit or whatever it is. So I just want to say, I appreciated that going into Catalina, and that's only deepened, with this conversation. And I know that you guys are doing everything that you can to make your events be as safe and as challenging and as great as they can be. So,
experience.
Just want to say, I just really appreciate that whole vibe that you're bringing to the sport.
Thank you so much. And I'm very glad to hear that you think like that, and because that's my goal to have that experience when you have done one of our races.
And I think with that, that's a great way to close out this conversation. Mats, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your early evening over there in Sweden to chat with us. We'll definitely see you out there again and at Catalina for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.
Who knows where else?
Yes.
Where else? But on that, really appreciate your time, and thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Low Tide Boyz, a Swimrun podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, and leave a review on iTunes if you're so inclined.
You can also sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboyz.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boyz on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, drop us an email at lowtideboyz@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Writing Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swimrun activities, hobbies, and other bullshit we do.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
And then a run.
And then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then run to the finish line. And just keep going until you're done.
Yes, or
until
run
you
to
cross the finish line.
Or run to the car.
Or run to your car.
Somewhere. Just keep running.
Peace.